"She's pregnant, not dying," my mother snapped. "She'll manage. We've already rented out your apartment." I blinked. My wife stood beside me, belly round, face pale, hand gripping mine tighter by the second. It was supposed to be a quick visit, just to drop off gifts before we moved into our apartment across town. We were finally going to have our own place. After years of saving. After skipping honeymoons and vacations. Now we were being told we didn't have a home anymore. "Your sister and her family are moving in," Mom continued casually, sipping tea. "Her husband just lost his job. The kids need stability. And we don't," I said quietly. Dad waved me off like I was a stubborn fly. "Don't act like a child, Caleb. Be a man. Sacrifice for your family." I looked over. My sister was lounging on our sofa like it was already hers. Her kids were bouncing on the cushions. Her husband didn't even look up from his phone. My wife whispered, "Where will we go?" "I don't know," I said, jaw tight. "But not here." That night, we packed our things into the car and drove to a cheap motel across town. She cried herself to sleep. I sat in the dark and started to think. The next morning I called my mother. But she didn't answer. Not until someone knocked on her door, and everything began to shift. The knock came just after 10 a.m. I wasn't there. But I heard what happened, from the neighbor, from my cousin, and later, from the woman herself. My mother opened the door expecting a delivery. Instead, she found my wife's OB-GYN standing in the hallway. He held a folder in his hand, calm but firm. "Mrs. Monroe," he said, "I was informed your pregnant daughter-in-law was recently displaced from her living space due to a family decision. Given her high-risk condition and mental health status, I've documented it as a medical emergency." My mother froze. "She's staying in a motel," he continued, "without access to proper support, which can endanger both her and the baby." I didn't know," she stammered. He didn't let her finish. "There are legal implications, Mrs. Monroe. You're listed as the primary co-owner of that apartment unit." She tried to talk her way out of it, but it didn't matter. I'd filed the emergency documentation that morning, and this was just the beginning. By noon, I contacted a tenant rights attorney, someone I knew through a college friend. By 3 p.m., my mother called. I didn't pick up. By 6, my sister texted. "What the hell did you do? The lawyer came here." I just turned to my wife, who was napping peacefully on the motel bed, and whispered, "They wanted to treat you like furniture. I'm going to make sure they never forget this." My wife and I showed up at the apartment around 7 p.m. just to get her prenatal vitamins, a few documents, and her knitting kit. I didn't plan to say much. But my sister was already at the door, arms crossed, fake smiling like the villain in a bad high school play. "Oh," she smirked. "You brought her back? Thought you'd be smarter by now." Behind her, I saw my brother-in-law with his shirt off, lounging on my couch like he owned the place. His greasy hand clutched a soda can, next to a baby bottle that wasn't even ours. My mother came around the corner, mascara smudged from tears as if she were the one wronged. "This is a family home, Caleb," she said with forced calm. "It's already full." I didn't say a word. I just looked at my wife's tired face, the bruised strength in her eyes, and nodded once. She turned, walked back to the elevator, never looking back. That night, I finished the second call with the attorney. Turns out, I had 67% ownership of the property, the rest in my late father's name, now legally mine through probate. And by the time I filed the formal eviction notice, they hadn't even seen it coming. Because I let them enjoy one last quiet dinner, right before the storm arrived. The eviction notices were delivered by courier the next afternoon. I timed them perfectly, just after lunch, when I knew my mother would be watching her daytime drama, and my sister would be posting Instagram stories from my kitchen like it was hers. They opened the door expecting groceries. Instead, they got a uniformed man holding white envelopes with legal teeth. I didn't go. I stayed with my wife in a cheap motel near the medical center. Not ideal, but peaceful. She didn't ask what I'd done. She just reached over, laced her fingers with mine, and whispered, "Thank you for protecting us." But that night, just after 9 p.m., the storm began. My phone lit up with 10 missed calls from my mother. 3 voicemails from my sister, alternating between screaming and sobbing. My brother-in-law sent a text that simply said, "You're gonna regret this." I turned off my phone. Let them feel the panic I used to carry every time I came home. Because the knock I was waiting for wasn't theirs. It came 2 days later. The same elevator dinged. Same hallway. But this time when the knock came, it wasn't angry. It was polite. "Come." From someone who wasn't part of their mess, but had power over it. And once the door opened, Everything started falling into place. The knock echoed like a bell of reckoning. When my mother opened the door, expecting me, or perhaps more yelling from the building manager, she was greeted instead by a man in a charcoal gray suit. Briefcase. Name badge. Ma'am, my name is Peter Lang. I'm with the city's Housing Authority Oversight Division. I could hear her falter. What is this about? Routine inspection, he said, calm as still water. We received an anonymous tip regarding unauthorized tenants, illegal subletting and improper utilities use in this unit. I'm just here to verify. My mother stammered. My sister appeared behind her in gym clothes, mascara half smeared, glaring. But this is my son's apartment, she snapped. Peter Lang calmly opened his folder. No. According to the title transfer recorded last month, this unit is legally owned by Caleb Monroe. And according to these signed lease violations, you and your family are trespassing. Silence. Then shouting. You have no right. This is family property. You can't do this to us. Peter Lang didn't flinch. I can. And I am. He handed over a formal vacate notice, effective immediately. Failure to comply will result in legal action. You have 48 hours. I watched it all unfold from the lobby's security feed, sipping coffee with my wife, her hand resting over our son's heartbeat. And for the first time in years, I felt like a man in his own story. The eviction notice shattered whatever fake authority my mother thought she still held. But it wasn't over. That evening she called me, not to apologize, not to ask how my pregnant wife was doing, but to blame me. You embarrassed us. Your sister's crying. Your uncle says you're turning your back on your own blood. This isn't how family works, Caleb. I took a slow breath, staring out the window where my wife was watering the basil plant she'd nurtured from a seedling. Her belly curved gently beneath her sweater. Our future alive and real. This is how family works, I said. We protect the people we choose to love. And I chose her. You chose to humiliate her. You're punishing us. No. I'm just not protecting people who don't protect me. She fell silent. Then hissed, you'll regret this. I hung up. The next morning I received a voicemail from my sister. Tears. Screaming. You ruined everything. You've always been jealous. Mom says you're brainwashed. You'll come crawling back when she leaves you. I didn't respond. But I did open the mailbox. Inside was a crumpled card, childish scribbles and orange marker. Uncle Caleb is my hero. Love, Ava. My niece. Her daughter. Somewhere in that twisted house, one small light still burned. And I knew. The battle wasn't over yet. Not until I cut the cycle. 2 nights later, a locksmith came by. My wife had fallen asleep early, her feet swollen, a soft smile on her lips as she dreamt. I stood in the hallway with the locksmith, staring at the tiny safe I had hidden in the closet years ago. Inside, every receipt, every message, every recorded conversation, every lie they thought I forgot. You see, my family had a habit of rewriting history. But I'd learned young, the only way to survive abusers who called themselves blood was to keep the truth documented. I mailed copies to a lawyer that morning. Then I made calls. The property titles they tried to seize in my name? Revoked. The rent agreement Mom forged using my childhood documents? Voided. I even called social services, because the way my mother screamed at Ava during that last visit still haunted me. And then, I called a journalist, one who'd been writing about inheritance fraud and generational abuse in wealthy suburban families. That weekend an article dropped. The Monroe name, behind the curtains of a perfect family. It went viral. The shame, the spotlight, the truth, it burned through their fake reputations like wildfire. But what truly sealed it? The letter I left on my mother's doorstep. Read. You taught me to destroy what I love. So I started with the lie you built. Sunday morning. Cold wind. A knock at the door. Ava opened it. And there they were. My mother. My sister. Her husband. All 3 standing in cheap coats, faces pale with desperation. I stepped forward. Not angry. Not smug. Just done. We lost the condo, my sister blurted. Brad's job is gone. The company you partnered with, she stuttered, they blacklisted him. My mother added, I'm being investigated for rental fraud. The neighbors won't speak to me. And we're being evicted, my brother-in-law whispered. We thought maybe you'd let us stay. Just for a bit. Ava looked at me. She didn't need to say a word. I turned to my family. Did you know Ava's been waking up at night with anxiety attacks? I said quietly. She started stuttering again after what you said to her. I had to find a therapist for her. While she's pregnant. They shifted. Eyes to the floor. You all taught me one thing, I continued. That love isn't something you demand with blood. It's something you earn with how you treat people when they have nothing. My mother looked like she might cry. I reached for the door. And just before closing it, I added, you treated us like burdens in our own home. Now you know what it's like to be locked out of one. Click. The silence after that? It was the loudest peace I'd ever felt.